Chapter 21 Return to College. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days later, Canaan College, outside Peace Town, a young man was walking towards Heping Town. Judging from his appearance, it was Xiaoling. Seeing Heping Town appear in sight, Xiaoling took a long breath, and the tense nerves in the past few days finally relaxed a little. Xiaoling's life has not been easy these days. On the way back, he often encounters people who come to assassinate and plunder. As a result, Xiaoling did not dare to relax for a moment, and the quality of her rest was extremely poor. Shaking his head, he was still too weak. If he were a Do Huang, he would walk sideways in these places, touching the dozens of Na rings in his pocket. Xiaoling couldn't help but smile. These Na rings had not been sorted out to ensure safety. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart, although the assets of the great Do Master and Do Master should not be it's a lot, but it's possible to get something good out of so many. It feels like opening a blind box. No longer thinking about what was going on, Xiaoling circulated his fighting spirit and rushed towards the gate of Heping Town. On this Lus Avenue, there were many pedestrians. These people obviously came from the Black Corner domain. These people had a ferocious aura that Xiaoling was familiar with. It was obviously gained from the fierce fighting experience in the Black Corner domain. However, no matter how vicious these people are, they can only restrain their temper within 100 miles of Canaan College. Looking at these, because I tried hard to hide the murderous intention in my heart, the expression on the passerby's face became very strange. Xiaoling sighed in his heart. The remaining power of Canaan College is still there, and people around me don't dare to be presumptuous. He shook his head and ignored it. Following this Lus Avenue lined with lush trees, Xiaoling enjoyed the pitiful tranquility of the Black Corner territory and slowly approached the small town. After running for a few minutes, Xiaoling stopped at the gate of the town and looked up at the plaque at the gate. The name on it was very ordinary and vulgar. If it were placed in the Black Corner domain, it would be demolished the next day. Peace Town, this is the first town from the Black Corner territory to the vicinity of Canaan College. After glancing at the crowd of people who were sighing in surprise at the corpse of Do Huang and Do Wang at the edge of the necromancer tree, Xiaoling stepped into Peace Town. As soon as he entered the town, Xiaoling saw a middle-aged man and a dozen young men and women wearing light blue robes recording the identity data of passers-by who had just entered Heping Town. Xiaoling also saw many passers-by being given a small light red pill after reporting their information. However, those passers-by seemed very reluctant to take this medicine. The middle-aged man who led the team just sneered and said, "Anyone who enters Heping Town must report their identity, name, etc., otherwise, they will be expelled directly. In addition, you have to swallow the elixir that is produced by the Academy's alchemy department to induce murderous intent. Don't worry, it is not poison. If you have murderous intentions in the town, the elixir will a red light will emit from your body. Our law enforcement team will follow the red light to search for it, and you should also know how our Canaan College deals with those who bring the atmosphere of the Black Corner territory here. When you plan to leave the town, you can go to the antidote distribution point in the center of the town to get the antidote, but once you get the antidote, there will be a law enforcement team supervising you all the way out of the town. If you don't take the medicine, you can leave now." After the middle-aged leader explained the rules, he ignored the resisting passers-by. After all, Peace Town is not a place where these people can run wild, and Canaan College is not afraid of these people from the Black Angle region coming to provoke them. The corpse on the necromantic tree next to them is what will happen, just because there are corpses hanging on the canopy of a big tree not far from the entrance of the town. Some have been dried, but some are still very fresh. The breeze blows through these treetops, causing the corpses to make a creepy crunching sound. The reputation of this undead tree has almost reached a level that makes people fearful. Many people who have been in the Black Corner territory for some years will never forget the bloody battle between the Black Corner territory and the South College. Not many people have studied the exact cause of that bloody battle that year, and the only thing that can be known to everyone is that after that bloody battle, the bodies of 2 fighting kings and a strong fighting king were treated in an almost cruel way. The means were hung on this undead tree. Since then, no strong man from the Black Corner territory has dared to come here to make trouble. Even if there is an occasional riot, the person who caused the riot will become a fresh corpse on the necromantic tree in less than an hour. Xiaoling walked towards the crowd and found a senior sister whom he had met in the outer courtyard. He walked up to her and said with a smile, "Senior sister Li Shi, long time no see. I just came from the Black Corner domain. Can you let me enter the school directly?" The senior sister blushed when she saw this handsome face. She naturally knew Xiaoling. Xiaoling was well known in the outer courtyard and was very gentle to others. She even touched Xiaoling's head when he was 8 years old. But she didn't expect that 2 years later, he would become more and more handsome. He shook his head and said quickly, "It turns out to be junior brother Xiaoling. Of course you can go in directly. Are you injured outside? Do you need our help?" When the people around heard Xiaoling's name, they all turned their attention here. Seeing that it was Xiaoling, a famous genius from the outer courtyard, everyone started talking. "Is that Junior Xiaoling, the first genius of Canaan College? He is so handsome." Junior Xiaoling broke through the Great Do Master at the age of 10. What a genius! I would be satisfied if I could have even half of his talent. Not paying attention to the comments of the people around him, Xiaoling replied to Li Shi, "I am not injured. Thank you for your concern, bye." Waving his hand, Xiaoling walked towards the school. Heping Town is quite far from Canaan City. When Xiaoling arrived at the academy on a flying magic beast, it was already late at night. Seeing that it was already dark, Xiaoling planned to see Xiao Suner tomorrow. "Let's count the harvest today." He walked to the chair and sat down, took out the storage rings in his pocket, a total of 27 storage rings. The soul perception invaded them and took out the items in them one by one, throwing those sundries aside. "Ignore them. First of all, there are gold coins, a total of more than 200,000 gold coins, not bad. There are also some low-level medicinal materials for elixirs, all of which are some for restoring fighting spirit and treating injuries. There are only 2 qi-gathering powders, which are of no use to Xiaoling. There are also some fighting skills, with various attributes. They are all Xian level and Huang level, and none of them can compare to the fighting skills Xiaoling is using now." Xiaoling thought about it and muttered to himself, "Next time when Teacher Wolin goes to recruit students, let him help bring them to the Xiao family. They used to be one of the 8 ancient clans, but now they only have 1 wind attribute Xian level intermediate practice. If the clan leader is not wind attribute, there is nothing to practice." He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He was really tired and needed to have a good rest. After taking a bath and drinking a cup of coke, Xiaoling fell asleep after a long time. Chapter 22 Han Yue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, a ray of sunlight shone into the room from the window and fell on the face of Xiaoling, who was sleeping soundly. Frowning, Xiaoling woke up from his sleep. He stretched out and yawned loudly, and couldn't help but mutter in his mind, "I haven't slept so comfortably for a long time." Looking at the sunshine outside the window, Xiaoling got out of bed and started to wash up. Suner should still be sleeping at this time. That Nizi never practices at night. I will learn the alchemy skills for a while and then go find her. Ding-a-ling, jingle-a-ling. Xiaoling, who was reading Secrets the Alchemist Has to Tell at his desk, heard the bells ringing in the room. The bells were a pair and could sense each other's situation. One was in Xiaoling's room and the other was at the door of the courtyard. She couldn't help but become confused and murmured in her heart, "Who came to see me so early in the morning? Does Suner know that I'm back?" Xiaoling put the books in the bookshelf and walked towards the door. Opening the door to the courtyard and looking outside, he saw a young woman in a purple dress. The woman was tall and tall. Although her cheeks were slightly thin, she had a rare beautiful face. Her skin was as white as snow, and her eyebrows were as white as snow. The most surprising thing about the painting is that this woman has waist-length hair, which is actually a rare silver color. The silver long hair is paired with a purple dress, which makes her whole body exude a kind of indifference that is repellent. The temperament makes people feel that they can be seen from a distance but not played with. Especially the arms and legs wrapped in black stockings. Even Xiaoling, who had been baptized by various photoshopped beauties in her previous life, couldn't help but take a second look. Just before Xiaoling came back to his senses, a gentle and melodious voice came into Xiaoling's ears, "Good morning, Junior Xiaoling. I heard before that you practice instead of sleeping every day, so I came here so early today. Didn't it bother you? After hearing this, Xiaoling immediately came back to his senses, looked at Han Yue, who was half a head taller than him, and immediately replied, "It didn't bother me. I haven't seen Senior Han Yue for a week. I can chat for a while today." After saying that, he pointed to the pavilion in the courtyard and walked up first. Seeing this, Han Yue didn't say much. She twisted her charming body and followed Xiaoling towards the pavilion in the courtyard. After the two of them took their seats, Xiaoling took out 2 tea sets and poured a cup of tea for each of them. Glancing at Han Yue, who was wearing purple, Xiaoling couldn't help but mutter in her heart, "Su Peng is right, purple is really charming." After taking a sip of hot tea, Xiaoling took the lead and said, "Senior Han Yue asked me if there is anything you need help with. If it is something I can do, I will try my best to complete it." Han Yue, who was on the opposite side, did not hesitate too much and said, "I came to you today just to ask you to help me refine 2 purple heart barrier breaking pills, and to discuss my cultivation experience with you. Although you have not had enough time to practice cultivation. I have more, but you are extremely talented and often have some different understandings of cultivation, which may be of some benefit to my cultivation. I will also share my cultivation experiences over the years with you, so that we can both improve each other." Touching his chin, Xiaoling thought for a while. Han Yue is from Zhongzhou after all. You can ask her about the situation in Zhongzhou. Then you can also know more about Zhongzhou. You can't accept the forces described in the original work. The others don't know anything. Having an idea, Xiaoling smiled gently and said to Han Yue, "Now that I am a 4th-grade alchemist, it is easy for me to refine this kind of elixir. It is of course no problem for me to share my cultivation experience. Yes, you have been practicing for longer than me, so it would be good to teach me some practice experience." Hearing this, Han Yue showed a faint smile and said to Xiaoling, "Then please help me to refine the elixir first. I have prepared 6 ingredients. What is the reward for refining the elixir? Let me see if I have any." Xiaoling shook his head and said, "As a reward, after I finish refining the elixir, Senior Han you can tell me something about Zhongzhou. I will definitely travel to Zhongzhou in the future." Han Yue nodded and replied, "That's no problem. I will tell you some of the information I know later. It's just that my family is not a powerful force in Zhongzhou, and I may not know much about it." After saying that, he took out dozens of jade boxes from the Neji, all of which were materials for refining the purple heart barrier breaking pill, and handed them to Xiaoling. After taking the medicinal materials, Xiaoling waved his hand and said nonchalantly, "It's enough to understand some common sense. After all, you still have to experience it yourself. Let me refine the elixir for you first. Then it depends on your performance, Junior." Han Yue replied. After finding an open lawn, Xiaoling took out a 4-mouth medicine cauldron from the 24 bridges on a bright moonlit night, poured animal fire into it, sat on the ground, relaxed his mind, and started refining the medicine. Han Yue, sitting in the pavilion, stared at Xiaoling's movements with interest. On the lush lawn, blue-pink flames loomed in the green shade, turning the originally cool forest into extremely hot. Xiaoling looked calmly at the rapidly rising animal fire in the medicine cauldron. As he waved his palms, the medicinal herbs above the ground slowly floated up, and finally fell straight into the medicine cauldron. As soon as those medicinal materials enter the medicine cauldron, the flames will devour them all, and in an instant, the former will quickly wither. During the gradual withering, densely packed tiny water droplets will seep out from the surface, and finally slide down along the surface, suspended above the flames, dripping and rolling continuously. When the medicinal materials have completely turned into withered gray, at this time, all the pure medicinal power contained in them has been forced out by the flames. Therefore, their bodies have completely turned into a pile of useless substances. Scrap. Xiaoling used his soul power to throw the withered medicinal materials out of the medicine cauldron, and finally fell on the grass nearby. The moment they landed, they turned into a pile of gray ashes and dispersed in the wind. Han Yue in the pavilion looked at Xiaoling, and saw him handling each medicinal plant skillfully. His clear blue-gold pupils were clearly visible, and his long blue-silver hair was spread on his shoulders. but he did not give anyone any thought. A feeling of disobedience. The slightly immature face is calm, giving people a sense of confidence that they are in control. Recalling the way Xiaoling peeked at her inadvertently just now, Han Yue blushed and felt an inexplicable pleasure in her heart. She shook her head and stopped thinking about it, and continued to stare in Xiaoling's direction, but even she herself didn't notice that there was already a hint of tenderness in her eyes. Chapter 23, The Gate of Supreme Freedom. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was noon in a flash. At this time, Xiaoling had finished refining a purple heart barrier breaking pill and was refining the next one. In front of the medicinal cauldron in the center of the grassland, Xiaoling kept changing his handprints and shouted, "Condensation." The liquid medicine in the medicine cauldron began to merge and slowly turned into a rugged prototype of the elixir. As time went by, the pale white elixir prototype with some irregular shapes gradually became rounded, and bright light emanated from it, rendering it like a white gem. At the moment when the elixir erupted with bright light, circles of substantial energy ripples, with the medicine cauldron as the center, spread out in all directions, causing the surrounding lawns to bend down. Xiaoling's head was soft. The flowing long blue and silver hair also flutters in the wind. Xiaoling finished his hand seals, stopped the beast fire in the medicine cauldron, took out a jade bottle, slightly activated his suction palm, and the purple heart barrier breaking pill fell into it. After refining the elixir, Xiaoling felt exhausted and his fighting energy had been exhausted. He didn't think much about it and lay down directly on the soft grass. Seeing this scene, Han Yue on the side couldn't help but panic. She quickly ran over, squatted in front of Xiaoling, and asked with some concern, "Xiaoling, are you okay? Are you feeling unwell?" Seeing this scene, Xiaoling felt warm in his heart, shook his head, and said, "It's just that the fighting energy has been consumed too much, just take a rest and it will be fine." Alas, although the soul power is enough to refine the elixir, the fighting spirit cultivation level is still too low, and the level of burning Ju is not high, so I still have to go out as soon as possible to find the strange fire to absorb. Seeing Han Yu's worried look, Xiaoling rolled his eyes and suddenly said, "Senior Han Yue, can you wipe my sweat for me? I'm too tired now and it's not convenient." Hearing this, Han Yue hesitated a little, but after looking at Xiaoling's weak appearance and sweat-covered forehead, she muttered in her heart, "Junior Xiaoling is so weak because of my alchemy, so you should help wipe away the sweat." So he took out the handkerchief he usually used from his neiji, bent down, and wiped the sweat off Xiaoling's face. Looking at Han Yu's beautiful face and feeling the gentle wiping on his forehead, Xiaoling suddenly felt his heart pounding. "Damn it, I'm upset again." Feeling Xiaoling's burning gaze, Han Yue also stopped the movements in her hands and met Xiaoling's gaze. For a time, an ambiguous atmosphere spread between the two, and the air was filled with the smell of hormones. Looking at Han Yu's pretty and slightly red face, Xiaoling swallowed and couldn't help but said, "Senior Han Yue, you are so beautiful." Hearing this, Han Yu's pretty face became hotter and hotter, her head felt a little dizzy, and her heartbeat suddenly felt faster, as if it was about to jump out of her chest. Seeing such a tempting scene, Xiaoling wanted to go up and bite him on the face. But he still held back. "The time has not come yet, so we can't start now. It will take some time to grow before we can harvest the fruits." With a thought, a jade box appeared in his hand. Turning his palm, he opened the jade box, revealing a milky white pill inside. Xiaoling said to Han Yue, "Senior Han Yue, this is a gift from me. It contains a pill called Dingyan pill. Its effect is to fix a person's appearance to the age he took it. Changes, I hope you can keep this beautiful look." Hearing this, Han Yue was also shocked. After living for so many years, she had never heard of this magical elixir. In fact, she was a little embarrassed to take this pill, but the temptation of eternal appearance still attracted her to take it. Xiaoling saw Han Yu's hesitant look and immediately guessed what she was thinking. He directly grabbed Han Yu's right hand, stuffed the jade box into his hand, and said seriously, "Senior Han Yue, you don't want to wait until 100 years later to become an old woman." Hearing Xiaoling's words, Han Yue thought about how she would look older in the future. She tightened her grip on the jade box in her hand and replied, "Then I'll thank you, Junior Xiaoling." Seeing that she had accepted the gift, Xiaoling took her hand away from Han Yue, handed the jade bottle containing 2 purple heart barrier-breaking pills to Han Yue, and said with a smile, "Senior Han Yue, don't forget to take the elixir." Han Yue took the porcelain bottle and gave Xiaoling a nice look. Recalling the series of events just now, I realized that I had been tricked by Xiaoling. Her pretty face couldn't help but blush, and the hand that had been held just now was still a little warm. Feeling Xiaoling's gaze staring directly at her, Han Yue did not dare to stay any longer and left a sentence, "I will refine the elixir first. Come to my yard to find me at noon tomorrow about the matter in Zhongzhou." Then he ran out of the yard. Go, Xiaoling watched Han Yue's graceful figure leave the courtyard and smiled helplessly. He took out the elixir for restoring fighting spirit from his belt, drank it, and sat cross-legged to restore his fighting spirit. Han Yue returned to her room, panting slightly, and the blush on her face had not completely dissipated. Looking at the pill that Xiaoling stuffed into his hand, recalling the fiery gaze, he couldn't help but murmur in his heart, "Xiaoling really likes me. Not only did he give me a ride on his empty seat before, but he also gave me such a precious dingyan. Dan, he must like me, otherwise he wouldn't be so special to me." This thought flashed through her mind quickly, and the blush on Han Yue's face increased a little, and she immediately buried her head in the quilt. Actually, if it's Xiaoling, it's not impossible. Time flies by like a white horse. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Xiaoling's cultivation level has also reached the level of a 3-star fighting master, and is only 1 step away from a 4-star fighting master. Canaan College's annual inner court selection competition will begin today. At this time, 6 boys and girls gathered in Xiaoling's yard. They are Xiaoling, Xiao Suner, Han Yue, Lin Xiuya, Lin Yan, and Lu Qing. Xiaoling said to everyone, "Let's work hard together. We can round up the top 5 with no problem at all. Suner, just use your strength normally. With your 5-star fighting master's cultivation, you can easily enter the inner courtyard." Song. As for why Xiao Suner only has 5-star fighting masters, it may be that the eldest lady of the ancient clan doesn't like the opportunity to enter the library to select treasures, and she doesn't want to expose her own strength. After hearing this, everyone nodded, with confidence shining in their eyes. Lin Yan on the side couldn't suppress his fighting spirit and said passionately, "I really look forward to the battle coming soon. My Lihua axe is already thirsty. Lin Xiuya said from the side, "Don't be careless. Although our strength is basically ahead of other students, there is still Han Xian, whose cultivation is not very different from ours." After hearing this, Lu Qing, who had a fierce personality, said disdainfully, "That guy can only make medicine. Not all pharmacists are as powerful as Xiaoling. I can kill that kind of guy with 1 shot." Lin Yan also echoed, "The gravel is not even half as good as mine. He usually looks arrogant, but he became more honest after seeing us." Then he said to Xiaoling, "When you first came to the outer courtyard for a year, he was not because did Elder Hu of the academy take a fancy to you, so he went to ridicule you? Why didn't you teach him a lesson?" That when Xiaoling heard this, he touched his chin. "At that time, he competed with me in medicine and lost to me. Besides, what adult would get angry with a child?" Han Yue on the side intervened in time. "Let's talk about the arrangements for going to the inner courtyard. There are many students in the inner courtyard who are better than us. It is better to make arrangements in advance than to enter the inner courtyard without preparation." Hearing this, Lin Xiuya took advantage of the situation and said, "Xiaoling and I have discussed it before. We can form a force. This will also make it easier for us to obtain training resources." Xiaoling also answered, "As long as you are willing, let's form a force together. With the talents of the few of us, we will soon become the strongest force in the inner court. And I will take Rayquaza with me. Now it is already a 4th-level monster, and no one in the inner courtyard can defeat it." Everyone thought for a while, and Han Yue was the first to speak. "I have joined this force. My fighting ability is not very strong. You have to take care of me." Xiaoling nodded and replied, "Don't worry, as long as you are in the same force as me and you are bullied for no reason, I will definitely teach you a lesson." Lu Qing answered, "I am also willing to participate in the formation of the force, but after my sister enters the inner courtyard, she will also have to join this force." Lin Xiuya also said, "Don't worry, Xiaoling and I have already considered your sister's problem before. When she arrives in the inner courtyard, she can join us directly. But then, don't be too spoiled to your sister, and don't develop a habit. It's not good to have a coquettish personality." Seeing that everyone agreed, Lin Yan also said, "Then I will also participate in the formation of the force, but how should the duties be distributed?" Everyone also nodded and turned their attention to Xiaoling and Lin Xiuya. Xiaoling said unhurriedly, "I have no experience in managing forces. I will serve as the alchemy elder, Lin Xiuya will be the sect leader, Han Yue will help manage the forces, Lin Yan and Lu Qing, you two will be the thugs. Suner can just be a member of the sect." Everyone had no objections to this. Lin Xiuya and Han Yue must be better at managing things. Xiaoling was the only alchemist among them, and his level was not low. There was still a lot of room for improvement in the future. Lin Yan and Lu Qing are both militants and are more suitable for fighting. As for Xiao Suner, everyone except Xiaoling thought she was just a fighting master. Xiaoling had no intention of letting her waste her time elsewhere. Concentrating on training was more important than anything else. In fact, there is a more important reason why Xiaoling should not be the leader of the sect, that is, Xiaoling will definitely leave the academy for a period of time, so as to avoid trouble when the time comes, he might as well not be the leader of the sect. With Xiaoling's help, these few are just as strong as those at the same time in the original work. Xiaoling helped refine the elixirs such as the purple heart barrier breaking pill as long as the ingredients were prepared. Even Xiaoling had refined one for her a long time ago. Xiao Suner listened for a long time and suddenly said, "Brother Xiaoling, give the force a name." Hearing this, Xiaoling touched his chin, thought for a while, and then said, "Let's call it the Supreme Freedom Gate." After saying this, he stood up and walked out of the courtyard first, followed by everyone, heading towards the competition stage for the inner courtyard selection competition. Chapter 24 The Trials Begin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The area of Canaan College is very vast. After walking for a while, everyone finally entered the square where the inner court selection competition was held among the crowded crowd. The inner court selection competition, as a major event of Canaan College, naturally attracts a lot of attention. Moreover, in this selection competition, all the influential figures in the academy will show up. This is undoubtedly a great attraction to the male and female students who regard these people as their idols and objects of admiration. Therefore, even though the college used the largest square in Canaan College to hold the event this time, it was still packed with people. Countless students from Canaan College squeezed their heads and rushed into their seats in the square. From the stands, all they could see were black heads and loud noises rising into the sky. The arrival of Xiaoling and others also attracted some people's attention. After all, they are all famous geniuses in the outer courtyard. Looking at the crowded crowd around him, Xiaoling frowned, and then said to the people behind him, "You should go back to your class to participate in the competition, and we will meet again then." Several people also nodded and went to look for their own classes. Xiaoling took Xiao Suner and soon discovered Instructor Wolin and some students in the class. Walking towards that side, the two of them quickly squeezed through the crowded crowd and walked to where their class was. "Xiaoling, Xiao Suner, you two are finally here. Why are you so late? You two are the only ones missing from our class. Hurry up and sit down. The selection competition will start soon." Instructor Wolin, who was sitting in the bleachers, was very sharp-eyed and noticed the arrival of her two students and waved to them. "I was just discussing something with my friends. I'm sorry, teacher." Seeing Instructor Wolin waving to them, Xiaoling and the other two said hello to her, found an adjacent seat and sat down. After greeting some acquaintances with a smile on his face, Xiaoling turned his attention to the lively square. His eyes swept around the square. In the center of the stands, there was a seat with the best view. In this seat, there were only 4 old people with white hair and beards sitting. Although the aura of these 4 people was almost the same as that of ordinary old people. There is no difference, but Xiaoling's eyes first stay on them. Others may not feel anything, but he with outstanding soul perception can faintly detect the occasional appearance of the 4 old people. This kind of space fluctuation can only resonate with the outside space when the fighting energy in the body reaches a certain limit. These are Elder Hua of the Medicine Refining Department and Hu Qian, Vice President of the Outer Academy. The two old men sitting next to him are the elders of the Outer Courtyard. The four of them are all experts at the peak level of Do Huang. They are only one step away from the realm of Do Zong. They only need to take one Pazong pill to become a strong Do Zong in one fell swoop. It's a pity that although Canaan College has abundant resources, its alchemist inheritance is not profound. It has not cultivated a 6th-grade alchemist who can refine the Pazong Dan. Han Feng, the medicine emperor of the Black Corner region, will not help Canaan College to refine it. Make Zong Dan. Therefore, several old men could only be trapped in the peak realm of Do Huang for an unknown number of years, unable to take that step. When Xiaoling turned his attention to the four people, the four of them seemed to have sensed something. They all turned their attention to Xiaoling and saw that it was the number 1 genius of Canaan College. Xiaoling all showed kind smiles and nodded. Seeing this situation, Xiaoling also said hello to a few people and then withdrew his gaze. One of the elders said to Elder Hua, "Old man Hua, how long will it take for Xiaoling to become a 6th-level alchemist?" "We are still waiting for the sect-breaking pill." After hearing this, Elder Hua touched his beard and said very proudly, "That boy's soul perception is extraordinary. Now he can refine 4th-grade elixirs. As long as he reaches the inner courtyard and improves his cultivation, it is only a matter of time to reach the 6th level of alchemist. Canaan College has the inheritance of the 6th level of alchemist, but my ability is insufficient and my soul perception has never met the requirements. The 6th level of alchemist is just the starting point for that kid." Hu Qian on the side also said, "I have been waiting for so many years, why can't I just wait a few more years? My granddaughter has used the elixir created by that kid to practice fighting spirit, and the effect is indeed very good." Recalling that my granddaughter, although she is also one of the top monsters in Canaan College, compared with Xiaoling, they are similar in age, but their cultivation is very different. When they go to the inner courtyard to use the Tianburn Qi training tower, she might not be able to graduate before graduation. "You can advance to the king of fighting." Shaking his head, he couldn't help but sigh. There is also a gap between genius and genius. While several people were talking, the surrounding square was already filled with people, and the sound of Xuanhuan soared into the sky. The inner court selection competition finally kicked off. When a middle-aged referee slowly walked onto the square, deafening cheers suddenly erupted from the stands. The cheers gradually subsided with the pressure of the referee's palm. After looking around, the middle-aged referee said loudly, "Dear students, today is the long-awaited day for the start of the annual inner court selection competition. In this competition, the participants come from all Xuanhuan classes, as well as the law enforcement team and the alchemy department. They are all members of their respective classes. The best ones, 300 people in total. The rules for this selection should be noted as follows. First, the competition focuses on exchanges. We are each other's classmates. No one can kill his classmates. Secondly, you cannot allow others to take the field on your behalf during the game. Third, that if you violate any of the above rules, you will be disqualified from participating in the inner courtyard selection competition at the least, and expelled from the college on the spot at the worst. Okay, the selection competition time is up. From now on, all contestants whose names are called, please go on stage as soon as possible. Once you exceed the specified time, you will be regarded as a waiver." The middle-aged referee did not say too much. After introducing the rules of the game, he slowly retreated to the referee's seat in the square. At this time, 2 names were also called out from the referee's seat. Xuanjie Class 2, Dai Yuhao. Xuanjie Class 3, Hua Mubai. Hearing the roll call, 2 figures who had been prepared for a long time immediately flashed down from the stands, and then landed steadily on the field. They looked at each other, sparks burst out of their eyes, and fighting spirits of different attributes surged out from their bodies. The powerful fighting spirit wrapped the 2 people's bodies, forming a perfect fighting spirit gauze. Although the 2 people on the field were not as famous as Lin Xiuya and Lu Qing in the academy, they were at least a little famous. Therefore, as soon as the 2 came on the field, cheers rang out in the stands. They were qualified to participate in the selection competition. They were all seeded players in their class. No matter what, in the outer courtyard of Canaan College, they could at least be regarded as above-average strength. Of the two people on the field, Dai Yuhao used the relatively rare ice attribute Fighting Spirit, which had quite good attack and defense power. Huomubai used the gold attribute Fighting Spirit, which was extremely powerful in attack, but slightly insufficient in defense. As soon as the match started, the two started close combat. With the family-inherited unique skill White Tiger Vajra transformation, Huomubai firmly suppressed Dai Yuhao in close combat. Although Dai Yuhao was currently losing ground, he had already created a large amount of ice gas in the venue. With Huomubai's heavy blow, he pulled away at distance. Dai Yuhao used his trump card, Xian-level advanced fighting skill Ice Explosion Technique, and the ice fighting spirit above the venue exploded rapidly. Huomubai could not get away in time and could only use Xian-level intermediate fighting skill White Tiger Body Barrier to protect his vital parts. When the smoke on the field dissipated, Dai Yuhao was just panting heavily. It was obvious that the ice explosion technique consumed a lot of fighting spirit, but his physical strength was still well preserved. Huomubai, on the other hand, had already knelt on one knee and could no longer stand up. He had no ability to fight. The referee on the side saw this scene, raised the flag in his hand, and said loudly, Xian level class 3, Dai Yuhao wins. Hearing this, the audience around cheered enthusiastically, and the sound waves went straight to the sky. Even Xiaoling in the stands couldn't help but applaud. It was indeed a very exciting game. It seems that the next selection will be very interesting. Chapter 25 The Trials End. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In this warm atmosphere, the inner court selection competition is proceeding in an orderly manner. As each game ended, it was getting closer and closer to Xiaoling taking the stage. During this period, Xiao Suner also went on stage to compete and shocked everyone with her strength as a 9-year-old 5-star fighter. After the 100th round of the game, an old man walked out of the referee's seat, glanced at the game list in his hand, and said loudly, the 100th round, Xiaoling, Class 1. Xuanjie, vs Chen, Class 4, Xuanjie Anping. As the referee finished speaking, the noisy square became slightly quieter. Countless eyes gathered on the square, looking forward to the competition between the number 1 genius in the inner court. Xiaoling in the stands smiled at Xiao Suner and said, Suner, it's time for me to compete. I'll be right back. Brother Xiaoling, come on, don't be careless. Although she was extremely confident in Xiaoling, Xiao Suner still gave him a little reminder. Xiaoling turned his body to chase the wind and landed on the side of the competition stage in an instant. Her long blue and silver hair fluttered in the wind, looking very chic. Standing on the stage, although he said nothing, he still aroused cheers from the students on the sidelines. Junior Xiaoling, you are so handsome. Junior Xiaoling, I love you. Junior Xiaoling, do you want my wife? That it can be seen that Xiaoling is very popular in the college, especially among some female groups, and his popularity is extremely explosive. Opposite Xiaoling, Chen Anping also slowly stepped onto the opposite platform. He has a tall and slender figure, a skin as bright as snow, and sharp eyebrows. The overall impression is that he is rich and handsome, but his temperament gives people a feelings of stubbornness, stiffness, and stubbornness. Xiaoling used his soul perception to sweep away, and there was a faint sense of sharpness coming over him. Although his cultivation level was only that of a 5-star fighting master, the feeling given to Xiaoling should be stronger than that of a 7-star fighting master. He couldn't help but squint his eyes and became a little more interested. As the referee shouted, the game begins. The two of them ran toward each other. Xiaoling only used the fighting spirit of a 5-star fighting master, intending to test this person's strength. The two arms collided together, and a circle of air waves spread out in all directions. Immediately, the close combat began. With the sharpness of his soul perception, Chen Anping could not touch Xiaoling's body at all, but Xiaoling could easily cause damage to him. Judging from the situation, Xiaoling has an absolute advantage, and there seems to be no suspense about the outcome. After knocking back Chen Anping with one punch, Xiaoling tilted his head and said to him, your cultivation is a bit different from mine. Let's draw the sword and decide the outcome with one move. Hearing this, Xuanhuan just nodded slightly. He could naturally see that Xiaoling had given him a lot of face and did not directly knock him down with his cultivation. He stretched out his hand and shouted, "Sword!" That a long sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed towards Xiaoling Hui. The aura was so strong that the hair of the nearby students was slightly blown. Xiaoling was not afraid at all. He stretched out his hand and a spear fell into his hand. He swept the gun body and faced the sword energy. Although he did not use fighting skills, the terrifying energy brought by Xiaoling's gun caused slight fluctuations in the space. The harsh sonic boom sound was like a muffled thunder, which showed the weight of this attack. Bang! The two came into contact, and in an instant, a loud sound erupted from the field. The hard stone slab where the two came into contact was directly shaken into powder with a bang, and the cracks were like spider webs, spreading continuously. And out, there was an explosion in the air, and the two of them fell back one after another. Xiaoling did a backflip and landed firmly on the ground, while Xuanhuan was sweating profusely, and it was obvious that his fighting spirit had been exhausted. He cupped his hands in front of Xiaoling and said, "Junior Xiaoling, my skills are inferior to others, so I admit defeat." After Xiaoling returned the greeting, the two of them left the competition stage. When the referee saw this, he said loudly, "Xiaoling, Class 1, Xuanjie, fight against Xuanhuan, Class 4, Xuanjie, Xiaoling wins." That the audience on the viewing platform also applauded and cheered one after another. Hu Qian in the stands couldn't help but sigh. You can compete with your fighting skills with your physical body. Although your opponent's cultivation level is not high, it is really shocking. Elder Hua echoed, "This boy's mental perception and physical body are both outstanding. This talent is truly unique and cannot be envied by others." After the competition, Xiaoling walked back to the area where his class was, sitting next to Xiao Suner. The two chatted for a few words and then continued to watch the game. In addition to Xiaoling's companions, there are two great fighting masters in this competition. One is Han Xian, and the other is a person named Chu He who is not mentioned in the original work. After several people's games ended successfully, everyone returned to their dormitories and began to practice. In the next few days, the inner court selection competition continued as usual, relying on the cultivation of the three-star fighting master and the soul perception far beyond the same level. Xiaoling passed the test and won the championship in the inner court trials. Lin Xiuya was second, Lu Qing was third, Lin Yan was fourth, and Han Yue was fifth. Xiao Suner ended the competition in the top 50, but she entered the inner courtyard at the age of 9, breaking the record for the youngest student from the outer courtyard of Canaan College to enter the inner courtyard. It also made everyone look at her with admiration. Some students began to wonder what kind of family the Xiao family in Wutan City was. To the supreme genius. If Xiaoling knew what these people were thinking, he would only reply lightly, "Do you understand the background of the 8 ancient tribes?" That after all the games were over, the top 5 took to the stage. Hu Qian, the vice president of the external school, first spoke at length to the crowd, which reminded Xiaoling of the scene when the old principal spoke on the stage when he was in school. It seemed that he had lost track of time. After speaking, Hu Qian looked around the square and announced loudly, "The internal school selection competition has ended. After a fierce battle, the top 5 have been decided. They are Xiaoling, Lin Xiuya, Lu Qing, Lin Yan, and Han Yue. Let's give them a round of applause." As soon as his voice fell, the square suddenly rang with overwhelming cheers. In this torrent of sound, the whole square was shaking. Countless people stood up from the stands and looked at the 5 people on the stage with envy, admiration, and yearning in their eyes. Everyone also waved to the people around them and walked away from the competition stage together. Under the gaze of countless eyes, they slowly walked out of the noisy square. The annual Canaan College inner court trials came to an end with the final departure of several participants. Chapter 26 You Are So Beautiful. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the inner court selection competition, Xiaoling rarely appeared in the college. He was nowhere to be seen in the medicine refining department and the battle area where he often went before. It is now the 3rd day after the end of the inner court selection. After these few days of practice, plus some training on the battlefield, Xiaoling's cultivation has now broken through to the 4-star Great Fighter. He only needs to reach a 7-star Great Fighter. Taking 1 3-marked blue spirit pill and 2 purple heart barrier breaking pills can directly reach the peak level of the Great Fighter in one fell swoop. Feeling the majestic fighting spirit in his body, Xiaoling was quite satisfied. According to the rules of the academy, within 7 days after the trial, the top 50 students in the trial must start preparing to enter the inner courtyard. The top 5 students such as Xiaoling can choose within these 7 days. Time to enter the academy's library, and as a reward, they are eligible to rely on luck to choose something of their own. Xiaoling also thought about what he should choose as his reward for entering the library. In the previous inner court selection competition, Han Xian did not use the Phantom Gold Fire of the 7th level Phantom Fire Scorpion Dragon Beast in the original work. Xiaoling guessed that the Beast Fire was most likely a reward he received in the library pavilion. After absorbing this 7th level Beast Fire, even if Fenju cannot advance to the intermediate level of Xian level, the cultivation speed should be slightly faster. At this time, Xiaoling was discussing with his friends in the courtyard about the fire energy hunting competition to rob the old students in the inner courtyard. Several people were sitting around the pavilion in the courtyard. On Xiaoling's left was Xuanhuan and on her right was Han Yue. Smelling the fragrance of the two of them, Xiaoling felt a little distraught. While several people were talking, Xiaoling's right hand inadvertently rested on Han Yue's long leg under the tablecloth. The soft fleshy feel and the silky touch of the black stockings made him yearn for it even more. One day he would have to try the feeling of a knee pillow in private. After what happened half a year ago, the relationship between the two has developed further, and they sometimes make some intimate moves. Feeling the strange hand on her leg, Han Yue's face remained calm, and she felt shy in her heart. She glanced at Xiaoling next to her calmly, and stretched out her hand to push it away, but she didn't expect it to be pushed away. He grabbed it with his backhand and intertwined his fingers, trying to break away but couldn't. Seeing Xiaoling's calm look, Han Yue had no choice but to hold her hands with him honestly. If my junior wants to hold hands, what can I do? I have to let him hold his hand. Han Yue's jade hands were as white and delicate as freshly peeled egg shells. The boy rubbed them gently and felt the soft and boneless hand in his palm. It felt wonderful, like a piece of white jade, extremely cool. The black silk on it adds a bit of smooth texture. Xuanhuan on the side glanced in Xiaoling's direction as if she had something to say, and saw that his expression was as usual, without any emotion. She glanced at Han Yue suspiciously, shook her head, and murmured in her heart, "Brother Xiaoling and I are childhood sweethearts. How can we like someone else? The two of us are meant for each other." In the end, the result of everyone's discussion was to wait and let the old students rob the freshmen first, and then a few people can rob the old students again not far from the exit. After the discussion, everyone returned to their own courtyard. Xiaoling also entered his room and began to practice with concentration, adjust his condition, and prepare to enter the library to obtain treasures tomorrow. Early the next morning, Xiaoling is practicing the Xian level advanced fighting skill Yen return attack that Xuanhuan gave him yesterday in the small courtyard. I have to say that the fighting skills provided by this little rich woman are indeed very useful, and the game is a treat the other person in return. Just when Xiaoling was immersed in practicing fighting skills, the bell in the room rang. He stopped practicing his fighting skills and walked to the courtyard gate. He opened the door and looked outside. As expected, it was Senior Han Yue who came calling him to go to the library with him. After looking around and seeing that no one was paying attention, Xiaoling grabbed Han Yue's jade hand and pulled him into the small courtyard. Helplessly rolling her eyes at Xiaoling, Han Yue said softly, "It's almost time to go to the library, don't keep those people waiting." As he said this, Xiaoling's hand was moved without much resistance. "Hold tight," Xiaoling, who has always been as thick-skinned as a city wall, said with a smile, "Within this time, if we ride over in the empty seat, we might arrive before them." Xiaoling acted very openly, but Han Yue felt uncomfortable all over and her cheeks were hot. At this moment, Xiaoling reached out and hugged Han Yue's slender and soft waist from behind, holding her in his arms. Han Yue couldn't help but glance at Xiaoling with slight anger, but being held in Xiaoling's arms, she felt inexplicably at ease, and her inner emotions instantly calmed down a lot. After half a year, Xiaoling is now as tall as Han Yue. The two looked at each other, and an ambiguous atmosphere filled the air for a long time. Xiaoling looked at Han Yue with a smile and a slightly startled expression. Han Yue's face was close at hand, but his eyes were a little dazed, and his heart was throbbing. Han Yue didn't notice anything strange and subconsciously opened her red lips. He said softly, "What's wrong?" Xiaoling looked at the pretty face and seductive red lips so close at hand, and said without thinking, "Han Yue, you are so beautiful, I like it so much." Han Yue's long eyelashes trembled slightly. She didn't know why, but she felt like she was being scratched by a kitten. The faces of the two people who were so close to each other were once again close to each other, and the two hearts were intertwined here. It is soft, moist and hot with a faint fragrance, and there is a faint sweetness in the mouth. This is what Xiaoling feels at this time. At the moment when their faces were close together, all thoughts in his mind were empty. In his clear blue-gold eyes, there was only Han Yue's delicate face and graceful figure. Han Yue was also like this. His eyes were dazed for a while, and only Xiaoling's figure was left in his eyes. It was unknown how long it took for this moment to come back to their senses as their lips parted. Looking at the silver thread between their lips, Han Yue hurriedly pulled away for a distance, a little at a loss. Xiaoling just touched his lips, recalling the touch just now. The two were speechless for a while, and the atmosphere became subtle. Fortunately, at this time, the cascade, who was still sleeping in the room, was not sure whether it was awakened by the movement of the two. He turned into a black stream of light and appeared in front of the two. He licked Xiaoling's face and arched Han Yue's back. This broke the somewhat subtle atmosphere. Xiaoling didn't think about it anymore. He jumped up, sat on the back of the cascade, and stretched out his hand to Han Yue. Seeing this scene, Han Yue also came back to her senses. She gave Xiaoling a look and put her hand on Xiaoling's hand, then sat down behind him with a little force. Chapter 27, Entering the Library. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the spacious and bright room, the bookshelves are crisscrossed and filled with a variety of ancient books, giving it a particularly bookish atmosphere. In front of a wide desk, there were 5 figures standing, who were the top 5 in the inner court selection. Xiaoling, Lin Xiuya, Lu Qin, Han Yue, Lin Yan. Yes, you are all the most talented students in our outer courtyard, but you must remember that the inner courtyard is not as good as the outer courtyard. Those who can enter the inner courtyard are all geniuses like you. And in the inner courtyard, strength is respected, and whoever has the strongest fist will win. It is to get the best training conditions. Therefore, students who enter the inner courtyard usually stick together. If they don't stick together, the consequences will not be good. Hu Qian looked at the 5 people in front of him and said solemnly. Don't worry, Vice President Hu Qian. We have already planned to create a force in the inner courtyard. We will definitely not be bullied by others. Lin Xiuya on the side responded in time. Hearing this, Hu Qian nodded and said kindly, you are all rare geniuses in Canaan College. You will definitely be able to take care of yourselves after arriving in the inner court. It won't be long before your power will become the inner court. The most powerful one in the academy. No longer continuing the topic, Hu Qian stood up and said to everyone, come with me, I will take you into the library to select treasures. Hu Qian then walked up to a black wall and waved his hand, releasing an invisible wave. The wall opened, revealing a dark passage. Hu Qian stepped in first, followed by Xiaoling and others. After entering the passage, everyone discovered that the walls were inlaid with huge luminous pearls. Although the faint light was a bit hazy, this light was enough for everyone. After walking in the passage for about half an hour, a little light finally appeared at the end of the passage. Seeing the light, the steps of the people in the passage accelerated a lot. After a while, they finally reached the end of the passage and stepped forward in one step. Got out, the dazzling sunlight swayed down from the sky, causing everyone to close their eyes slightly. After a while, they slowly opened their eyes and looked at the scene that appeared in front of them, with a look of surprise on their faces. At this time, in front of everyone, there was obviously a valley groove. The steep mountain wall extended all the way up, and finally reached the end of the line of sight. Among the 3 cliffs, there happened to be an extremely wide open space. At this time, In that empty space on the ground, a staggeringly large and heavy ancient pavilion stood on top of it. His eyes slowly swept across the huge and simple pavilion, and finally stopped on an extremely ancient plaque outside the pavilion. On it, 3 characters that had been somewhat blurred by the years were looming out. Library Pavilion. Although the ancient handwriting has been damaged by the years, Xiaoling and others are still shocked by the simple artistic conception contained in the handwriting. It is indeed the mysterious library in the outer courtyard of Canaan College. This plaque alone is print out its identity. Hu Qian led everyone slowly towards the library pavilion. When he was about to enter the 20-meter distance, he suddenly stopped, clasped his fists in the direction of the library pavilion and said, "The top 5 in this inner court selection competition have been born. According to the rules, I brought them here and asked the elders to open the door." Hu Qian's words, carried by fighting spirit, lingered in the small valley for a long time. Shortly after Hu Qian finished speaking, Xiaoling narrowed his eyes and looked at the 2 grey-robed figures sitting cross-legged on the ground who suddenly appeared at the gate. The 2 men in grey robes looked as if they were sitting there. Such a strange scene made Xiaoling take a breath and sighed inwardly. The strong men of Dozong are so terrifying. These should be the 2 peak fighting sects in the original work, Qian Bai'er, who only show up when there is a life-and-death crisis in Canaan College. If one of these 2 people can make a little move to scare the ambitions of the Black Corner territory, there won't be so much mess in the original work. After these 2 people appeared, they didn't say a word, and even Hu Qian didn't pay attention to them. They were full of force and showed their masterly demeanor. There was no dissatisfaction on Hu Qian's face, and the few people behind him could only wait obediently. After the silent atmosphere lasted in the valley for nearly 10 minutes, the robes of the 2 grey-robed figures sitting cross-legged at the door of the pavilion shook slightly. Immediately, under the grey robes, there were 2 pairs of old monks. He raised his gaze and scanned Xiaoling and others one by one, with a hint of approval in his voice. "Are these the top 5 in this year's selection? The quality is much higher than in previous years. Not bad. Hear him speak." Hu Qian breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "These children are responsible for their own success. Please ask the elders to unlock the space lock." The 2 grey-robed old men nodded slightly and waved their hands, causing ripples in the space. After that, Xiaoling and others looked at the space half a meter in front of Hu Qian. If they looked carefully, they could find some very shallow wrinkles. These wrinkles are hidden in the space and are extremely difficult to detect. Moving my eyes along the looming wrinkles, I suddenly discovered that the wrinkles in this space almost look like a wall, protecting the entire library behind it. This is a space lock, an extremely powerful barrier that only the strong Do Zun can set up. This space lock was left by a senior in the academy hundreds of years ago. If the 2 elders inside had not opened it with special techniques, even if the Dozong a strong person cannot break in. There are strong people in the Dozong in your 4 families, and they have relatively broad knowledge. You should have heard of this situation to some extent. Xiaoling, this is probably the first time you have seen it. I will wait until you arrive later. You should have a deep understanding of that state. Hu Qian in front of him explained. In the pavilion, 2 grey-robed men slowly stretched out 2 pairs of dry palms from their sleeves, and then slowly formed hand seals one by one. As their hand seals formed, Xiaoling and others could clearly feel that 2 extremely powerful invisible waves were coming out from their palms like waves. The invisible waves gradually spread, and finally came into contact with those spatial wrinkles. When the 2 came into contact, the space in front of Xiaoling and others was like a mirror made of water, with ripples constantly appearing. After a while, the ripples stopped, and a door was slowly torn open by the invisible big hand. "Let's go." Seeing this spatial door, Hu Qian waved his hand, and then took the lead to walk in. Afterwards, Xiaoling and others followed closely and stepped into the door. Walking in, the vision became suddenly clear, and the attic in front of them became clearer and clearer. Obviously, everyone has really entered the space closed by the space lock. Chapter 28, Treasure Hunt. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hu Qian, who was standing outside the pavilion, saw that Xiaoling and others had already entered. He smiled at the two gray-robed men sitting cross-legged on the ground and said, thank you for bothering me. It's just a mission. The two mysterious figures, all wrapped in gray robes, didn't even move their bodies, and their hoarse, faint voices sounded slowly. Now you can enter the library on your own. Remember, no matter what you want, you can't force it, because everything inside has been added with an energy layer. If your hand can pass through the energy layer without any hindrance, then you can take away the things inside. Of course, no matter how much you can pick up, there is only one thing you can take out of the library. Don't be greedy, otherwise you will end up in vain. And if you can't penetrate the energy layer, then give up. With your strength, you still can't break them. Over the years, people have entered the library every year, but in the end, there are not a few people who return empty-handed, so, everything can only be left to chance. Don't force anything you can't get. Pointing to the library, Hu Qian turned to Xiaoling and others. Hearing this, Xiaoling and others nodded, looked at each other and then slowly raised their legs and walked towards the library. After stepping up the bluestone stairs and arriving at the door of the Sutra Depository Pavilion, everyone looked at the plaque above the door that said Sutra Depository Pavilion. The plaque was a little shabby, but it had a soul-stirring power that made everyone's hearts feel a touch of desolation. Xiaoling had expected it and was slightly controlled. After reminding everyone who was a little dazed, they continued to move forward. Go in. The door will only be open for 1 hour. After 1 hour, whether you have got what you need or not, you must come out. At this time, one of the men in gray robes said, and at the same time he waved his sleeves and brought out an invisible wave. Fluctuating, the door to the Sutra Pavilion was slowly opened. The door opened, and an ancient desolate atmosphere came oncoming, causing Xiaoling and others to quickly guard their minds, not daring to have any other thoughts. Lin Yan, who had a wild personality, took the lead and walked in, and the others followed him into the library pavilion. After all 5 people entered the library, the open door creaked and slowly closed, and finally closed tightly. Hu Qian on the side looked at this scene, touched his beard, and chuckled. I don't know if the beast fire inside will be taken away by that kid Xiaoling. Hearing the sound of the door closing tightly behind them, everyone quickened their pace and headed inside. Nearly 5 minutes later, a light yellow light came from not far in front, and several people couldn't help but walk a little faster. After a while, they finally passed through the dark passage, and Dasheng's light came towards them, causing everyone to turn their heads slightly. What appeared in front of everyone was an extremely spacious room. On the surrounding walls of the room, there were nearly a dozen energy shields. At this time, these energy shields were slowly spitting out light, illuminating the room like daylight. Xiaoling took a step forward and said to everyone, the treasures here are hidden in the light group. You need to break the light source to get the treasures. The higher the level of the treasure, the higher the intensity of the light group will be, making it more difficult. Break it. If there are fighting skills suitable for each other, we can help each other pay attention, and we can help solve the light group that cannot be broken. After hearing this, everyone nodded. They all have deep feelings. Helping each other will definitely obtain better treasures than fighting alone. Suddenly, a stream of light flashed and fell in the direction of Lu Qing. Xiaoling, whose soul perception has been concentrated, reminded, Lu Qing, there is a ball of light heading towards you, take it off and see what it is. After hearing this, Lu Qing concentrated his attention and found a ball of light flying towards him. He jumped up, charged up a punch and punched it, and the ball of light was broken open. He picked up the things inside and looked at them, and muttered in his mouth, the Xian level intermediate skill Xian Shui Ju, this thing is useless to me. Xiaoling said, unless the martial arts and fighting skills are of a rare variety and have no ground level, just throw them away. If you have any medicinal materials, you can show me. I plan to get a beast fire. Do you have anything you want? Han Yue on the side said softly, just choose martial arts and fighting skills, or high-quality elixirs, there is nothing missing. After hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. Suddenly, more than a dozen light groups flew out of the attic. Xiaoling left a message, pick the light group with more energy in it. Then he flew forward, everyone also cheered up and began to select suitable treasures. Xiaoling did not blindly capture the light groups, but stared at all the flying light groups, released the soul power, maximized the soul's perception, and sensed the light groups with more intense energy. Suddenly, a ball of light containing wind attributes deeply attracted Xiaoling's attention. The energy intensity within it was the strongest that Xiaoling had noticed since entering. Without any more hesitation, Xiaoling stepped forward, jumped into the air, stretched out his hand, and firmly controlled the cyan light ball in his hand. Although he was not very familiar with the wind attribute fighting spirit, with his strong physical strength and strong fighting spirit, Xiaoling still shattered the light group on it and pulled out a light cyan scroll from it. Xiaoling looked at it and read out what was written on it. The wind attributed earth level intermediate fighting skill breaking wind is quite good. Lin Xiuya wants it. After hearing this, everyone on the side also looked at Lin Xiuya. The fighting spirit attribute that Lin Xiuya cultivated was the wind attribute, which was very suitable for this fighting skill. Of course I want it. This technique is very suitable for my wind-attributed fighting spirit, and I happen to use a sword. Scratching his head, Lin Xiuya replied somewhat embarrassedly. With a flick of his hand, the scroll flew into Lin Xiuya's hand. Xiaoling smiled and said, "You are lucky, kid. I will call you when I find someone to fight in the future. Don't be scared then." After taking the scroll and putting it away like a treasure, Lin Xiuya replied seriously, "As long as you are not going to die, I will accompany you. Being brothers is in my heart." Shaking his head and ignoring this guy, Xiaoling continued to focus on finding beast fire and checking those light balls with strong fire energy. Half an hour later, everyone had chosen their treasures. Han Yue and Lin Yan both had an earth-level intermediate technique, and Lu Qing had an earth-level intermediate fighting skill deliberate bomb fist. Only Xiaoling had not found the original Han Xian 7th level phantom gold fire. Xiaoling couldn't help but mutter in his heart, "Isn't that beast fire found in the library? If not, it's not unacceptable to get a high-level medicinal material." Han Yue, who was standing by, saw that Xiaoling seemed dissatisfied, and stepped forward to persuade him, "There is still half an hour left, don't be too anxious. At worst, take the Tianfei fruit that Lin Xiuya found for you, which can be used to refine the main medicine of Doling pill, which is also quite good." Seeing that his senior sister comforted him in this way, Xiaoling was not so anxious in his heart, and replied with a smile, "Just go with the flow. If the time is up and no suitable beast fire appears, you can take the Tianfei fruit." Before he finished speaking, a ball of blazing red light suddenly rushed out of the library, attracting Xiaoling's attention. Judging from the energy it exuded, it was a little stronger than the ball of light equipped with Quangfeng Jueshi Zhan. Without any hesitation, Xiaoling ran towards it with a brisk step, stepped on the bookshelf and jumped into the air, and used all his strength to activate the suction palm, and the ball of light fell into his hand. With his familiarity with fire-attributed Do Qi, Xiaoling directly pierced through the light ball with his hand and took out a porcelain bottle from it. Looking closely, he saw a golden fire inside, which was the 7th level phantom gold fire. Seeing this scene, everyone gathered around. Seeing that it was really a 7th level beast fire, they all sighed that Xiaoling was so lucky that he really squatted on a high-level beast fire. Xiaoling also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he waited for a while and didn't think about leaving early. "Finally I waited for you. Fortunately I didn't give up." Putting away the bottle of beast fire, Xiaoling smiled and said to everyone, "I've kept you waiting for a long time. Let's go out together." After that, he took the lead to walk towards the door. Everyone didn't say much, followed closely, and walked out of the door of the library together. Chapter 29 Extraction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the 5 people left, the vortex-like energy shields around the huge room also began to slowly shrink. After a moment, the energy shield turned into a small dot and completely dissipated with a slight click. At this time, the entire huge room became empty. No one could have imagined that this place was once filled with countless treasures that were enough to cause a sensation in the outside world. Hearing the sound of the door opening, a grey-robed man suddenly moved his sleeve slightly, and then Xiaoling and others felt a vast and majestic invisible energy scanning through them. The strength of the energy made them feel horrified. The invisible energy seemed to only play a scanning role, so it only lasted for a short 10 seconds, and then it retreated like a tide until it completely dissipated. The time is up, let's go. Remember, what happened here today, including the news inside the library, you can't leak a single bit to anyone. The hoarse old voice slowly hovered at the door. Hearing this, everyone nodded to indicate that they would abide by the rules. Seeing that everyone had come out of the library, Hu Qian came up with a kind smile on his face and said in a calm tone, "Have you all chosen the treasures you like? No one will return empty-handed, right?" Xiao Ling did not intend to hide it. He directly took out the porcelain bottle containing the 7th level phantom gold fire and joked with a smile, "The academy must have spent a lot of money this time. 2 Earth-level intermediate fighting skills, 2 Earth-level intermediate skills, and a 7th level beast fire. The academy is really rich. In our Gemma Empire, even the royal family does not have Earth-level fighting skills and skills." The value of the items of several people added up to about tens of millions of gold coins, and some things could not be exchanged for gold coins and needed to be bartered. Hearing this, Hu Qian's mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, "This time the reward is indeed much more valuable than before, but this is what you deserve. Don't worry, this little bit is just a drop in the bucket for the dean." Xiao Ling nodded, without commenting. Mang Tianqi is an elder of the Thunder clan, one of the 8 ancient clans. His strength has reached the level of a semi-saint, and his wealth must be huge. This little bit is nothing to him. It's a pity that the patriarch of the Shao clan, one of the 8 ancient clans, can only use the Xian-level intermediate skills. Why is there such a big gap between people? Hu Qian swept his eyes over the 5 people, and after seeing that they were not injured, he clasped his fists again to the 2 grey-robed men, turned around and walked towards the invisible door frame torn open by the invisible big hand. "Follow me closely, don't touch those space wrinkles, otherwise I can't save you." When they were about to pass through the invisible door frame, Hu Qian tilted his head to remind them, then kept his upper body still, took a step, and stepped out of the door. Afterwards, Xiao Ling and others followed carefully, not daring to make any unusual movements. With the disappearance of Xiao Ling and others, this small valley hidden somewhere finally returned to its former tranquility, and it would not be opened again until the end of the next year's inner courtyard selection. After returning to the room again, Hu Qian closed the door he had just opened properly, looked at the 5 people who had just come out, touched his beard, and said with a smile, "The rewards have been collected. The next step is to go to the inner courtyard to practice. After arriving at the inner courtyard, you will have to worry about not having enough fire energy. You must work together, otherwise you may be bullied." Everyone nodded and said they understood. Xiao Ling didn't care about this. He first grabbed a wave in the fire energy hunting competition, and then relied on his own alchemy skills. The fire energy was basically inexhaustible. As for being bullied, Xiao Ling didn't even think about it. If he was really pushed to the edge, he would just let the split seat fight. "Okay, if you have nothing to do, go back. Report here in 2 days, and then take you to the inner courtyard." Seeing that everyone had understood what he said, Hu Qian didn't keep anyone. Bowing slightly, several people left the study one after another. After chatting for a few words on the way, they all returned to their own courtyards to practice. After returning to his room, Xiao Ling called out the system panel with a thought. "System, open my personal panel." Ding, the host's personal panel is automatically opening. Host, Xiao Ling. Gender, male, age, 10.5 years old, cultivation, 4-star grand fighter, soul power, mid-mortal realm, fighting chi attribute, fire, with a hint of wood attribute, skills, burning art, low-level Xian level, Tai soul absolute. Fighting skills, Xian level advanced fighting skills swallow return, Xian level advanced body skills chasing wind quick step, Xian level advanced fighting skills burning sky palm. Xian level advanced fighting skills red flame fist, earth level low level fighting skills fire meteor, flame, fusion beast fire, items, 7th level phantom gold fire, 10,000 souls banner, 24 bridges moonlit night, Dozun ruins map, infinite coke bottle, imperial pill, Pazone pill, forget worry pill x15, Ding Yen pill x14, number of draws, 11 times. Seeing that there were still 11 draw opportunities, Xiaoling made a 10-shot draw with a single thought. System, used 10 extraction opportunities. Ding, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting a pair of Air Jordan 1, Chicago color. Ding, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting the infinite Huazi box. Ding, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting 300,000 gold coins. Ding, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting 400,000 gold coins. Drop, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting 500,000 gold coins. Drop, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting a pair of overalls. Drop, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting a Su Xian Dan. Drop, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting a Fan Ming Dan. Drop, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting a zone level pill recipe. Drop, the system is extracting. Congratulations to the host for extracting a life-devouring pill. Xiaoling was not interested in the strange things, so he directly put them into the system space. There were quite a lot of gold coins, so he took them out and put them in the storage ring. Money is still useful when you go out. He took out the recipe and several pills and began to check them one by one. Su Xian Dan, a 7th grade intermediate pill. Taking it when refining pills can help stabilize the mind and thus increase the success rate of refining pills. Returning life pill, a 7th grade high-level pill. This pill can save a person's life as long as the person's head is not chopped off or the heart is not directly shattered. Life-devouring pill, it can allow a person of the Grand Do Master level to reach the level of Do Wang in a very short time, but the user only has 3 years left to live. Looking at the pills in front of him, they are useless to Xiaoling now. The returning life pill is used to save his life, and the Sushin pill can be taken in advance when refining high-level pills in the future. Although the life-devouring pill can directly reach Do Wang, and there is also confidence that it can reach Do Huang in 3 years, this thing is a pill that squeezes potential and vitality. In order to make the road to becoming an emperor smooth, this thing is still not eaten. Zongji pill recipe. It records the refining method and required medicinal materials of the 7th grade high-level pill Zongji pill. After taking this pill, it can make Do Zong strongmen upgrade 1 to 2 stars. It can only be taken once in a lifetime. Picking up the prescription and reading it, Xiaoling expressed his satisfaction. Although this thing is useless at present, it can save a lot of training time when it is refined in the future, and it can also be used to exchange some items with others. After putting all the items back into the storage space, Xiaoling began to absorb the 7th level beast fire. His fighting spirit was slightly improved, but the grade of burning art was still at the low level of the Xian level. He couldn't help but sigh. Before breaking through the Xian level, the beast fire can still help a little. After breaking through the Xian level, it seems difficult to improve the grade of burning art without the strange fire. Shaking his head and not thinking about it anymore, after absorbing this beast fire, Xiaoling's life returned to cultivation, alchemy, riding the sky seat, chatting and laughing with his cousin and senior sister. He lived a leisurely life with 5 points every day, and 2 days passed in a flash. Chapter 30 Heading to the Inner Courtyard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 days later, Xiaoling and Xiao Suner walked together and came to the study of Vice President Hu Qian. There were already dozens of people here before, and they were scattered around the square. Seeing Xiaoling and Xiao Suner coming, many people they knew cast a kind look, and Xiaoling nodded in response. Lin Xiuya and Lin Yan, who came to the square first, saw the 2 people coming, and they also came forward to chat, and the 4 of them gathered together. Not long after, Han Yue and Lu Qing also came to the square one after another. But when Lu Qing came, there was a beautiful and slim woman behind him. Her identity was self-evident. She was his cousin Lu Fei. Lu Fei was indeed pretty, but in the original book, she was spoiled by her cousin Lu Qing, and offended Xiao Yan, the wall-hanging man, and was taught a lesson. After all, she was an acquaintance. Xiaoling also went up to greet her, only to see that her face was a little red, which made Xiaoling speechless. You blushed like a bubble teapot. At this time, there were many other students outside the open space. In the hearts of all the students in the outer courtyard, being able to enter the inner courtyard for training was an extremely coveted honor. Countless people have been working towards this direction since they entered the academy. Therefore, every year when those students who passed the selection competition entered the inner courtyard, there would be many people coming to see them off and watch. When Xiaoling and the others arrived here more than 10 minutes later, the closed study was finally opened. Vice Dean Hu Qian and several old men walked out slowly. Seeing their appearance, the whispers in the entire open space gradually became silent, and after a moment, it was completely silent. Hu Qian slowly swept his eyes over the 50 students in the open space. After seeing that no one was absent, he nodded with satisfaction, took a step forward, and said loudly, "Dear students, today is the day for you to enter the inner courtyard. I have to congratulate you here. Your long-term efforts have finally paid off. I believe that after entering the inner courtyard, you may not be able to adapt to the training methods there, but there is one thing I am sure of, that is, you can maximize your potential there. I am not bragging, as long as you stay in the inner courtyard for a year, you will achieve a complete transformation. Perhaps some of you know students from the inner courtyard. After all, they occasionally have holidays from the inner courtyard, so you should know how big the gap is between the students who come out of there and those who come in." Hearing Hu Qian's words, a few students in the field nodded slightly. Obviously, they should be those who have communicated with the students who came out of the inner courtyard, and more people were full of expectations and excitement. What Hu Qian said was exactly what they were pursuing. The purpose of entering the inner courtyard was not to pursue stronger power. They believed that no matter how strange and harsh the inner courtyard's training methods would be, they would stick to it. Being able to stand out from Canaan College proved their talent and hard work. Those who can stand here are not the kind of people who think that power can be obtained for nothing. The inner courtyard is the core of Canaan College. Due to its confidentiality, most students from the outer courtyard, including the instructors, do not know its exact location, so we will send you to a certain place. Hu Qian smiled and looked up at the blue sky in the distance, where 10 black shadows were flying. After a moment, the black shadows gradually grew larger, and they turned out to be 10 huge griffins. Hu Qian waved at the griffins in the sky, and then the shadows pressed down on the ground. Finally, in the strong wind, the 10 griffins stopped not far from the open space. Everyone looked around and found that there were 2 people on the back of the griffins. "Okay, time is up, students, go up, in groups of 5. Seeing the griffins descend, Hu Qian pointed his hand and said to the students. After hearing Hu Qian's words, the students on the open space immediately turned around and swarmed into the open space. Then, like fleas, these impatient guys climbed onto the broad back of the griffin beast with a swishing sound. However, when they stepped on the back, the slightly slippery feathers of the griffin beast made them suffer. Some people who were not standing steadily slipped and rolled down, and their bodies fell on the stone slabs with a continuous bang. Boys, don't be so stubborn. There is a seat installed on the griffin beast. Don't dream of standing on its back. That is an ability only a great fighter can have. Hu Qian laughed loudly, then turned his head to Xiaoling and others, and said, "The top 5, you 5 are in the same team, go up." Xiaoling curled his lips and didn't do it. This griffin beast is not as cool as our Licongswo sitting. He patted Xiao Sun'er's wrist. Licongswo wrapped around it, shook its head that had just woken up, and rushed to Xiaoling in front of him. It raised its head and roared, and its body size returned to 7 meters in length. With his eyes rolling, Xiaoling moved his mind and cast his eyes on Licongswo. Licongswo, who was in tune with him, also cast his eyes over, and it seemed that there was an invisible connection between the two. Suddenly, a dazzling white light emanated from the body of the Spyro, which made the people around him unable to open their eyes. When the white light dissipated, the black skin on the surface of the Spyro had turned into a gemstone, and the body structure had also changed. For golden strips similar to silk ribbons extended from the lower jaw and dragon horns. The body became more slender, and the two golden parts of the tail fluttered in the wind. It can only be described in 3 words, handsome. This is the mega form of the Spyro, which was acquired after it learned to add the finishing touch when it broke through the 4th level. This was the first time Xiaoling showed it in front of outsiders. Feeling the changes in his body, the Spyro flew into the sky, let out a long roar, and then swam around in the clouds before landing in front of Xiaoling. This scene stunned the students, instructors, and elders around. The original Spyro was already very handsome, and now it has undergone super evolution. It can only be said that it is extremely handsome. Moreover, this kind of magic beast that changes its form at will, let alone seen it, has never even heard of it. It is really a small knife pulling the butt, opening the eyes. Xiaoling, who had quietly acted like a genius, had a calm face and showed his magnanimity. In fact, he was very happy. He jumped onto the back of the Rayquaza with a flip, and then tilted his head towards Lin Yen and the others who were still staring at the Rayquaza, indicating that they should sit on it. The boys had never ridden such a handsome mount before, so they sat on it immediately and kept asking questions, meaning, I want to raise one too, where can I get one? The 2 girls sat in front of Xiaoling for a while, and they were still thinking about how Xiaoling had just ridden on the back of the Rayquaza alone, with his blue hair fluttering and his elegance. They shouted in their hearts, my husband is so handsome.